Welcome to the Life First Accounting Firm podcast for accountants who love their work but love their lives outside of work even more. I'm your host, Erica Goody, the 15-hour accountant. I built my own mostly solo accounting firm because I wanted balance, health, and more time with my family. In season 1 of this podcast, we're sharing real starting stories from other accountants who chose to do the same, launch their own firms in a quest for more life and freedom. So pull up a chair, settle in, and listen in to the do's, the don'ts, and the would you do it agains. Welcome to Starting Stories. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined with what I will consider a friend, Steve Ney. Steve, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. We've known each other for a little while. It's always good to talk.
Yes, just before this, I was trying to rack my brain of when did I meet Steve? How did I meet Steve? How did we get connected? And in my mind, you and I have just always been connected. It was, I don't know, there was not a time that Steve and I were not connected, and that's how I remember it. So I don't know if you remember better. I think you were on a newsletter list along the way.
Yeah, I think I found you through Geraldine Carter's podcast.
Okay.
Like right around the time I was starting to get interested in getting into this business. And so that was kind of, that was meaningful. And I think I got on your list maybe about that time. And we just kind of been in touch here and there since then.
Well, I'm so glad we're connected. I'm so glad we're doing this because I think your story is, I want to say unique, but I don't, because I think there's a lot of people who are going to resonate with what you have to say here. And I think it's an important story to tell. Before we dive into that, can you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're located? You run an accounting firm. Maybe tell us a little bit high level about that, and then we'll dive in.
Sure. So I live in Austin, Texas, with my wife and 4 kids and our dog and some parakeets that we just got recently. And it's very warm here usually, except for like a week in the winter we'll get snow and everything will shut down because Texans don't know how to drive in the snow. I grew up in Utah, so I find that a little weird, but I understand it now having lived here. My firm is focused around taxes. I'm an enrolled agent. And because I'm not a CPA in Texas, I cannot call myself an accountant. So it's not technically an accounting firm, but I do taxes. I do a little bit of bookkeeping.
I hope the state of Texas doesn't watch this.
Yeah. I'm pretty good about not calling myself an accountant, but if someone refers to me as their CPA, I'm not going to make a stink about it.
I think that's such a good call out. Even before we dive in, states are so unique, and you really have to know your state and dive into it. And I think people, when they're starting a firm, they run into these what we think are weird rules, and we don't hear other people talk about them because the other states are different. And we're like, is that really a rule in my state? In Texas, you can't say you're an accountant unless you're a CPA, which I'm sure is lobbying from the CPA community. That's fine. But you're an EA, and we're going to talk more about that. So you run an EA can I call it an EA practice?
Sure. Tax practice.
Okay. A tax practice. You can say tax practice, but you can't say accounting firm?
Yeah, just accounting, accountant, those words are the ones that are off limits for me.
Let it be on the record that Steve runs a tax practice in Texas, not an accounting firm.
There you go.
Okay, but the reason I want to talk to you and what I want to pull out of the story right away is your background is not in accounting. This is what I would call maybe a second career, but you also have a day job. So tell us a little bit about kind of your journey into accounting.
Yeah, it's been kind of a long, winding journey. My background, my undergrad education is in computer science, and that is my current day job is still in that field. So I've been working in software or cybersecurity in some form for 13, 14 years, something like that, including at little companies, big companies, universities. I'm at a consultancy now that does kind of litigation support for patent, intellectual property, but we also do cybersecurity. So it's really interesting stuff, the things that I do in my day job, and is totally different from what I do in the tax practice. And I'm not entirely sure why both of them work so well in my brain. But I've always kind of been interested in taxes. I've always done our own taxes, including for the businesses that my wife runs. And so I've kind of understood those aspects of the tax code pretty well for a while, and then got interested in starting a starting it as a business. I guess I can tell that piece of the story now if you're ready.
Yeah.
It let's see. I used to listen to a podcast by a CPA whose name was Andrew Carroll, and the podcast was about entrepreneurship and other things too. But the fact that he was an accountant was interesting. And at one point, he mentioned having a mentee that he was helping come up into accounting, and he said, don't bother getting the CPA yet. You can down the road if you want to, but if you want to get into taxes, the enrolled agent is the credential that you want. And I had never heard of it before, so that was interesting.
Many
And it,
haven't.
yeah, right. And even to this day, we have a branding problem as enrolled agents. So I just call myself a tax professional because everybody kind of understands what that is.
I didn't know it was possible to have a worse branding model than the CPA, but it turns out enrolled agents have it.
Yep, yep, yep. So the guy that Jeremy was talking about, or sorry, the guy that Andrew was talking about, it turns out is Jeremy Wells, who, if you're an enrolled agent, you may have heard his name around. He's currently the editor in chief of the EA Journal at NAEA, and so he's pretty well known in the tax professional circles.
I did not know that. I listened to his
Okay.
podcast, and I think his podcast is wonderful if you want technical tax knowledge.
Oh yeah, Tax in Action, is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
we'll give it a free shout out.
Something.
It's
Yeah.
called Tax in Action, and it's really technical topics that he covers in an hour. And through Earmark, you can get CPE credit. But if there's really something specific where you're like, ooh, reasonable comp, like, for example, reasonable comp, I really want to brush up on that. He probably has a podcast on it, and it's very good.
Yeah, yeah. Jeremy is great in so many ways. And his podcast is one of the only ones on Earmark that gets IRS continuing education. So I
Oh,
like it.
okay.
I like it for that too. But yeah, great deep dives there. So that sort of planted the seed of, hey, there's a thing called an enrolled agent, and you could do it as a second career. You don't have to have the master's degree and have worked under a CPA for so many years or whatever, because that was always going to be kind of out of reach for me as I got a career in software. I'm not going to put that on hold to go do school again and get a different credential, but I could do this one on the side and study for the tests and go take them and then gradually start to build up a practice. And the thing that finally got me to start doing that is we had been on a long drive, me and my wife and the kids, because to get anywhere in Texas is hours and hours. I think we were going to Houston this time. And my wife was reading aloud a book that I think was All the Money in the World by Laura Vanderkam. I don't know anything else by her, but this was the book, and something in there that I planted the idea of um, being able to scale up or down your income is a superpower, and the best way to do that is running a business where like you can't always necessarily cut your expenses back to be able to make more room in your financial life, but you could scale your income up if you've got a business that does that kind of thing. And I was like, maybe now is the time that I should go pursue this because that is something I'm interested in. It would fit this. Let's go give it a try.
Yeah. So your
So
intent
that,
was always that you wanted to start a business with it. It wasn't just like,
mm-hmm.
I want to get an EA credential for fun. It was like, I want to do something with this sooner than later. Okay. And so how long did that take you? Like, I don't know very many details about the EA other than I respect them a lot because I think they're really highly technically savvy individuals on the tax side. I actually, dare I say, don't tell the CPAs, more so than a CPA because a CPA is so broad stroke on like all things accounting, including tax. But from the sense I get, like EA is like deep, deep, deep dive in tax.
Mm-hmm. That's
No,
true.
no distraction with audit or reg or business, yada yada, right?
Yeah, right. There's three exams. One about individual taxation, one about business taxation, and then the third one is representation before the IRS, so doing audits and that kind of thing. What do you need to know about working with the IRS on behalf of a taxpayer? And they're like 3 hours long each, I think. So it took me probably 6 or 9 months to study for those, just an hour or two or three a day for
Yeah.
a while, and
Were you
then
taking a course that, like, you weren't just studying for your exam, you were maybe learning this information for the first time? Was it a course or something that you
that
were using?
that's true. Yeah, like I knew some of these, but there's a lot of things where I was like, that's a thing. I guess I'm just gonna have to memorize this because I don't have a mental framework to hang this on. And now coming back, I'm like, oh, I remember learning about this in the EA exam, but now I know what it is actually for.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, that's true. What was the question? I got
Were
lost.
you using a course to
Well, of
study, or
course,
was it like,
yeah.
what was the format of learning this?
It was like a self-study course, so books and then some lecture style videos that I was
Okay,
watching, but it was pretty self-driven,
sure.
that pacing wise. Yeah.
Okay, so like 9 months, 6 to 9 months, and 3 exams. Do you sit for all the exams at once, or can you do them one at a time?
No, I did one at a time. So I studied for the first one, took it, studied for the second one, took it, and then I finished those in like 2022, early 2022. Like right during tax season. So I didn't really start having any clients that year, but I had the credential and then started
You waited
networking.
to get a credential to actually prepare tax returns? Oh, that's not even the law. It's so great.
That's
That's
true.
so
It's not
wonderful.
the
Anybody can professionally file a tax return. Oh,
mm,
no.
yeah, that is
Oh.
true.
How kind and professional of you to wait until you are fully credentialed to actually start a business in tax preparation. Thank you, Steve.
Well, you're
Okay,
welcome.
so that was tax season. Like, the year was 2022, or was it?
Yes,
Okay,
the yeah calendar year.
calendar year 2022. You had just finished the EA. You didn't take on any clients during that calendar year or that tax
Uh,
season calendar year?
yeah, that's right. I don't think I had any at all that year,
Okay.
because at the end of that year I had gone on to um, take a what was it? At the end of the year, I had gone to a event that a tax software vendor was putting on in my city, just to kind of, because I thought I would probably, that's probably the software I'm going to buy. I might as well go to the thing and have them demo it for me. And while I was there, I met another CPA who was just recently started out his own practice after having worked for somebody else, and we were the only two people in the course, and so we got to know each other.
That's great.
And yeah, yeah. And he actually referred me the first couple of clients that I ever had, of like folks that were he was becoming too expensive for, and so I was a great fit because I'm charging pennies on the dollar because I've never done this before, and I'm just trying to get my feet wet. So it was a good fit for everybody. And that's
Sure.
kind of how I got my start the next season, early 2023.
Okay. Do you mind me asking did you wind up going with that software, and how did you decide what software to go with? If you don't mind naming it, I'm just
Sure.
curious what
Yeah.
somebody who's just starting off would go with.
The first year I used Drake, and it is really good. I love the keyboard shortcuts, and it's very easy to navigate and understand where everything fits into each other. So I did like Drake. Although later that year and every year since then, I've used ProConnect because it's all online and I don't have to have the software installed on my computer. So
Is
it just
Drake
makes it
still
a little
all
more
not
flexible.
on the cloud? Is
They've got an online product now for personal returns. For the business returns this year, at least, you still have to have some desktop software that connects with it somehow, but they're working on it.
okay.
So that I'm sure that's going to be a great product once they finally get it done. They're
Yeah,
a good
no, that's
company.
great. Just sometimes people who are just starting out, we don't even know what software is out there. If we've always been in
Yeah.
corporate or public or a different industry, like, we may know technically what we need to do, but we don't even know the software names, like, and it's just something you have to, like, dive in and start figuring it out. So thanks for calling those out. We don't Not promoting anything. Nobody's paying us to say that,
Hmm.
uh, but it's just nice to hear what other people are using. Okay, so you got your first few clients from referrals from this other person who you were more an ideal fit for them for whatever reason,
Hmm.
and, and you got like how many clients in your first, year? So if that was 2023, say it's 2024 calendar year, like how in your first 12 months of this business, which I'm assuming you're still a W-2 employee in of a completely different industry at this point.
Right, yeah.
How many clients in your first year
I don't know off the top of my head. I
ish?
have the revenue front numbers in
Yeah,
front of
yeah.
me, but
Well, okay, if you're willing to
the
share the
client number,
revenue,
it was
yeah.
probably 10, 15, maybe 20 over that first year or so.
Okay. And do you mind sharing what that
And
revenue level
yeah, the
was?
revenue, the first official year I had no clients, so that was 0. But the first year where I actually had clients, I think the revenue was oh, here it is, 11,000 was my
Okay.
revenue the first year.
That's not too bad for a second. How much time were you devoting? Did it feel like a really, really big lift as a side gig? If you have a W-2, you have I assume you're working full time and then
Yes,
you're doing
right.
this. Did it feel overwhelming or were you able to control how much work you took in really easily?
It did feel very overwhelming, largely because I'm doing some of these situations for the first time. Like, I'd never done a Pennsylvania tax return, and they've got like weird local things that I didn't even know existed. And so I'm like
Mhm.
having to figure all that out on the fly. So I spent a whole lot of time doing research for each and every client that first year. That's where most of the time went. I didn't actually track my time that year, so I don't know. I do now, so I could answer that for current year. But
Did
yeah, it
you
it felt like a lot.
Yeah.
And I also hadn't figured out how to like schedule things, smooth out the peaks. Where that
Of
first
like
year
the
of
busy
just like
season,
I'm
yeah.
just taking everybody that will come because I'm trying to figure it all out.
Sure. And you also don't know how the software works. Like you can know
Hmm.
technically what you need to do, and you don't know where the button is that you have to press to put that in. Like we underestimate, like you could be so technically savvy, like your stuff, and you just now you have to also learn software. And
Hmm.
that's a whole other learning curve. You just learned all the technical knowledge, now you have to learn the software knowledge. And you're right, like, this first year, you're just hitting with everything. Do you wish you had taken on less clients, or do you think that was still a good way to start?
No, I think that was the right pace for me that first year.
How did year 2 feel compared to that?
Better. I had more clients, but I understood more things, and it was easier to like I wasn't spending quite as much time on each individual return after that because I knew the ropes by then. So then it was just like, oh, I've got a partnership now, and they have some real estate, and I've never done that before, so we'll research that one and spend a whole lot more time on that than I did on anybody else that year. That kind of stuff.
Yes, and I will give you a shout out. If anybody doesn't know the EA credential, if that's like new to somebody listening, or if you're just wondering like, well, what kind of like how much is Steve researching? Steve, when I've come to you for technical questions, and you're also part of our aligned accountants community, and when I see you answer technical questions, your answers are really robust, really well researched, and you really know your stuff. So either that EA training is, really hardy when you have to pass that test, or or both is, like, you're just a really good researcher and you're not skimping, and I think it's a testament to, like, you can learn anything, like, we can all learn anything, and if you're willing to put in the time, and yes, it takes time to learn something, but once you learn it, it takes a third of the time the next time you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. That's kind of you to say. I have been inspired by folks like Jeremy Wells, and there's a guy in the NAEA forums that is already always like super specific. He'll give you citations to the regs and everything. Patrick Dimmitt, and so they kind of they inspire me to be better at like let's nail this all down so I can tell you exactly where it is and
That's good.
give
It
you
also
all
helps when
the
you're
edge
fighting a
cases.
Yes. When you're fighting a client and they're like, "Well, I think I can write off this
Uh-huh.
clothes that I just bought." And I'm like and you're like, "Actually, pursuant to section da da da." And if you are willing to do that, like, it stops the conversation. That client will stop arguing really fast.
Yeah, yeah. Or they'll say,
Okay.
"I asked ChatGPT about this, and it gave me this little spiel," and I can be like, "Yeah, yes, but." this part is wrong, and we could do it, but here's what the risks will be, and like it's ultimately up to you as the business owner, but I've got to tell you what the law says.
For sure. And why are you using ChatGPT if you've hired me? You're either
Yeah.
wasting your time or your money,
Mhm.
one or the other.
Mhm.
Okay, so where are you at today? It sounds like you're 3 years in now. Maybe this was your fourth tax season. Are you still
Yeah.
working full time in your not business? Like you still have a W-2 in a different industry?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, full time?
Full time. Yep.
Okay. And how has like the growth of your side gig, EA tax firm been in those 3 to 4 years?
I think the amount of time I am spending has not scaled up significantly, but the number of clients I'm able to serve has. So, which means I'm getting better at doing the actual work, which is good.
Yeah.
4 years in, um, and the revenue has also grown commensurate with that. So I still feel like it's a good balance. I really enjoy my day job, and I work with great people there, and it's a fascinating area of technology, and so and it pays the bills for my family of six, and so that's kind of the main reason that I keep that on. That's the thing that really keeps the roof over our heads, and it gives me the freedom in the tax business to be able to grow slowly and deliberately and take my time and research things so that I know it really well, and just do a good job there.
I think I say this from experience. I think when you have a backstop, in this case, your W-2 job, you run your business differently. Like there's some
Hmm.
freedom in not having your back against the wall and not feeling like I gotta make this work. Otherwise we're all screwed, right? Like we're on the streets, we're eating ramen noodles every night. Like when you don't have that feeling, I think you, like, get this freedom of, like, "Oh, I'm gonna take an" like, this sounds really nerdy, but, like, "I'm gonna take an extra hour to research that tax, case, so I understand," And, like, if you enjoy this work I mean, if you don't enjoy this work, then that sounds miserable, but if you genuinely enjoy, this work, and I think somebody who comes at it from a second career point of view has to has to enjoy it. Like, it's not
Yeah.
like you picked a career and you're like, "Oh, crap, I gotta stay with this now." Like, you picked it because you liked it, and there's some
Hmm.
freedom in, like, "Oh, I wanna dabble in this, or I wanna research that, or I wanna try this with a new client. Maybe I wanna change my workflow," and I have the time and freedom and lack of financial pressure to make those changes, and, like, what a gift. Not everybody gets to run a business like that.
Yeah. Yeah. My friend thinks it's hilarious when I send him photos of new tax books that I get in the mail to be like, look at this thing that I'm enjoying reading. And he's like, you're such a nerd. Uh,
And then he probably
yeah.
asks you questions, right? Then he
Yeah.
knows the guy
He
to
does.
ask.
Uh-huh. 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 But yeah, to your point, especially the freedom of having a backstop where it gave me a lot of latitude to experiment with pricing, with how I run the engagement, what kind of client am I willing to accept or not. All of those options are on the table because this is not putting food in my kid's mouth. It's just a
No,
thing
but it
to
might be
run
saving
itself
for their
for now.
college.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
eventually it will be like the
yeah,
way it has been growing. It will get to that point eventually. But in the meantime, I get to I can raise my prices and see how clients react to that, and I don't have to worry. Oh, what if all of them say no?
yeah,
Well, that would be fine. I can get some more clients, or
yeah.
put the prices back down, or we'll see.
So do you think, like, is your goal to one day make this your full-time career, job, business?
Possibly. I don't know.
Your
A lot of
employer
people
might be
ask me that.
listening,
Yeah,
so don't say
yeah.
anything. Do they know that you
Yeah,
do this?
he does. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
He's been very open about that. From the time he hired me, he's known, and he actually thinks it's kind of cool that we've got lots because the company's pretty diverse anyway, in what kind of backgrounds we come from, and that's useful in our line of work where you kind of bring different perspectives to it.
sure.
So yeah,
Okay, so you're not sure if one day you wanna make the jump, but it's always nice to have the option or
exactly.
the supplemental income in the meantime. So how many you had mentioned that, like, the hours really haven't changed in the 3, 4 years that you've been growing your side business. The number of clients have because you do it more efficiently, but, like, what is the number of hours per week or maybe just during busy season and off season? How does that look like on a weekly basis for you?
hmm I tracked my hours last year, the entire year. I'm not sure I got quite everything, but it worked out to about 10 hours a week averaged over the whole year, and that's a little bit heavier during the two peaks of tax season, the spring, and then again in like September, October, when the extensions come due. But something 10 to 15 hours a week is about what I do most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you, like, structure your week so that are you working a little bit after work, before work, on the weekends? Like, do you have a structure to make that work with your day job?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of all three of those. Sometimes
Okay.
it's early morning, sometimes it's in the evening. Very often Saturdays have a little bit of work as well, so just kind of work it around the day job.
Do you get any pushback from clients that you're not responding in the 9 to 5 because you're dedicated to your day job at that point? I know when people think about starting up a side hustle in accounting that or tax in Texas, if you like, are they're concerned that, like, "Oh, well, they'll expect me to respond in certain time periods, and I don't want them to always see me responding at 8 o'clock at night." Do you ever face that or get pushback from clients?
I have not, now that you ask that. I don't think so. Part of the reason is I've always been adamant about running it asynchronously. Like we do have real-time meetings from time to time, but most of the time it's I send you what I need, you send me the documents, I'll get back to you. Like we're not working at the same time, me and the clients anyway. So nobody has complained about that. If I am sending an email really late at night, I will often schedule it to go out the next morning so that it doesn't look like, I was up until 1 working on your thing, and now you're concerned about the quality of my work, sort of thing.
Oh,
You get the email in the morning because you're
I
not going to read
also
it till
might be
morning
guilty.
anyway.
Yes, I also might be guilty of the scheduling of the emails to a time that seems more appropriate.
Yeah.
And not even if it's, like, a really late night, it's just if I don't want my clients to expect me to work on a Sunday or something, like, I will not send that email
Yeah.
on a Sunday. Even if it
Right.
worked for me to work on that Sunday, uh, I don't want them to expect that, right? Like, "Oh, Erica will respond on a Sunday. She's always working." I don't want anybody to think that.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll do that too. And sometimes an email will come in and like I could answer it right away, and maybe I do, but I won't send it right away because I don't want them to expect that I'm always watching my email. So
Yes.
you'll get the response. Don't worry about it, but it might not come right away.
Yes, yes, you can I love this. Yes, this is what I do too. I love this too. Great. Um, okay, how many clients, now are you able to handle in that, 10 to 15 hours a week throughout the year?
I think this year I will have 30 or 35.
Okay, I'm trying to do the math on what I thought your average, client revenue is. Would you be willing to share what your top line revenue is as a side gig right
Yeah,
now?
top line last year was 33,000. So what does that work out to? About 1,000 a
About
client. It's
1,000 a
it's not
client?
all it's not all tax returns. There's some representation work in there. There's a little bit of there's a few other things in there too, but
Okay.
mostly tax returns.
I mean, gosh, that's great for a side gig. Because I imagine
Yeah.
the margins on do you have anybody who works for you? I didn't ask that.
No,
So,
it's just
the
me.
margins on a solo firm, uh, is almost all, right? All owner benefit, as
Mhm.
I would call it. That's
Right.
incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations for
Yeah, thank
standing
you.
something up.
Mhm.
That's awesome. What's been the hardest part of this past 4-year path, 5-year path of getting the EA and standing up a side business and not being originally from the industry?
Hmm. It's probably all the hats that you have to wear as a sole practitioner. I've got to do the taxes, and I've got to be really good at that because that's the thing they're paying me for. But also, I have to do networking slash marketing. I have to do sales in some form. I have to run the IT for the entire company, all of that, and all the admin work. Um, so it's probably good is trying to balance all of that, like uh, without getting trapped in the hey, it feels really productive to do. Let me go tweak the website this week because that that will be fun and it's good for marketing, right? But it's not actually moving the needle on anything.
Yes, it does feel good to tinker with things, doesn't it? And we have to
Uh-huh.
be conscious that are they actually bringing us an ROI when we go off and tinker?
Hmm.
You mentioned marketing. How after those first few clients from the connection you made at that training, where have your next clients have come from? Or is it heavy marketing? Are you doing anything, or is it pretty much referral based?
It's mostly referral based, either from other accountants where it wasn't a good fit for them, but it would be for me, or folks that serve the kinds of clients that I am interested in. So like it's a marketing firm and they have clients that fit the profile that I'm interested in, and so they refer people over to me, or a financial advisor, or uh, managed IT, or whatever it might be. That's where most of it has come from. So I have tried other kinds of like I did some print advertising last year and the year before and got a few clients out of it, but it wasn't really worth the cost for me. But like just going to local networking meetings for a couple of years and building those relationships, and then over time that has kind of built a little flywheel that is where most of the clients have come from. And even as I have had to pare that back, because like last year, for example, I had to travel a lot for the day job, and so I wasn't able to go to the meetings as much as I used to. But because those relationships were still there, things kept
Yeah.
happening.
Are they like chamber meetings, chamber of commerce? Like what kind of networking do you have in your area?
Yeah, a little bit of Chamber of Commerce, and Alignable is the one that I went to the most. I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but in the Round Rock, Austin area, there's a lot of local Alignable groups that will meet for like a lunch on a Wednesday or whatever, and that's where I met most of the folks that I've networked with.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. What's been the best part of your journey?
Hmm. It's kind of the flip side of the having to wear the many hats is that I get to make all the decisions. I get to try out pricing. I get to experiment with software. I get to hold myself out as the authority on taxes for solopreneurs because I know the stuff. I'm confident. I'll go give a panel presentation about it. Whatever. That's been really fun.
Any advice for somebody who's doesn't have an account like a traditional accounting background and they want to break into the industry or maybe learn something or maybe dabble in like where could I go if I'm interested in accounting coming from a different industry? Do you have any advice for someone like that?
Okay. Um, I've found that it has been useful for me as an outsider. Like it is kind of harder being an outsider uh, to accounting because um, I have to. Whether this is actually true or not, I don't know. But I feel like I have to work harder to present myself as having the proper expertise. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, like to prove your credibility.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just because I don't have a background in this, I went and studied for these exams, and they were tough. That's a good credential to have, but not everybody knows what the credential is, and there is that barrier. But that said, having come from the background of I know what it's like to work in big tech, or I know what folks that have stock options need, or I've worked with micro businesses where it's just somebody running out of their garage and they keep their books in Excel and that's it. Like I know how to work with those kinds of things, and so having that background has been useful in finding the the folks that I want to work with as their tax professional. So there can be something there of like bring your background with you as you're trying to find your place in this industry and find the things that you like working on and the things that you know better than maybe the shop down the street because you lived it on the other side for a while, and now you know what a client needs when they're coming to look for an accountant.
I think that's really good advice. I think that oftentimes we minimize our previous experience, and I think experience and education, no matter what industry or background it is never a waste. And it is so easy to relate with people when you've been in their shoes. And that is a sales pitch that you don't even have to feel like you're selling. Like I'm thinking
Yeah.
in my local area, I have a friend who she's getting into accounting as a second career from being a teacher. Well, if I was her and I was interested in running a tax firm, gosh, I might connect with all of the teachers in the town and say, hey, there's some special deductions for teacher expenses or what, whatever the law is constantly changing. And if you can lean into knowing their specific situation and helping them in a way that they already need help, my goodness, it's so easy to market. And you don't have we get so scared about marketing and selling, but if you just tell people your experiences and relate to them, that is what selling is.
hmm I have a good friend who's a financial advisor, and this is her second career. She used to do education. She was a teacher, like forensics or something really cool like that, like CSI stuff. But that makes her really good at being a financial advisor because she knows how to explain these complicated things to people and help them get on board and understand like what is it that we want your money to do for you. She's
Yeah,
really good at that.
that's awesome. Yeah, so bring your past. That is great. That is such great advice. Um, Anything else you wanna share, Steve, before we wrap up?
Mm. Uh, I'd say if this is something that interests you, give it a try. Like even if it's just you're starting small, you don't have to necessarily go out and get the EA credential because that is a big hurdle. But and if that's what you want to do, if you want to do taxes, that's a good entry point. But if it's just you want to do bookkeeping or what there's books, there's courses, there's find somebody that needs that and try it out and see do I actually like doing this?
Yeah,
Am I good at this? Can I get better at this? Learn all the things that I need to know? The answer is probably yes. You can figure that out.
that's
I
great.
don't know, just start it.
Yeah, and be honest. If somebody's looking for help and you're like, "Well, I'm new to this, but I'm willing to work with you if you're willing to take me on," like, you don't even have to be hiding anything. You could just be really
Yeah,
honest in that
absolutely.
situation.
hmm
Steve, this has been so good. Thank you for sharing your journey and being so transparent with all of your information. I really appreciate that. I know it's going to help so many people who are listening to this, who are in similar situations or just starting off. And I just always appreciate your wisdom and willingness to share, Steve. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. It's good to talk to you as always. I hope this is
Yeah,
helpful for folks.
thanks again. Hey, it's Erica again. Thanks for joining us today. If you want more stuff like this, subscribe to the 15-Hour Accountant newsletter. You can find the link to subscribe in the show notes. Special thanks to everyone who helped bring this podcast to life. This podcast is produced and edited by the 15-Hour Accountant. All design work is by Lou Valdivieso. The music you're hearing right now in the background is called Destination Freedom by Avocado Junkie. Until next time, work well, live well.